We're recording now.
Always runs where others walk. Which is ironic because most of the time he was swimming.
Listeners, we're in a state of shock right now because we've just finished Thunderball and the ending was frantic. It was wild.
It was very obvious that they were running out of real space.
So they just sped up all of the
So they sped up all the boat chases and finished it off with a sudden airlift.
When Bond is fighting 3 people at once while driving a boat.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable way to wind down a 2-hour-long film.
Oh, amazing.
My God.
You're listening to Do You Expect Me to Talk?
We're your hosts.
Curry, Alfie Curry.
Furman, Jack Furman.
And James Bond.
And we're joined by special guest.
Oh, me. Holly.
James
Polly Smith Polly.
I'm just on the
Polly,
Wikipedia page for Thunderball getting really excited for some mad facts.
spit some
That's
facts
why I
for
was
us?
busy.
Spend some mad facts for us.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that really upset me about this film, and, you know, we touched on this in the last film, is that Bond just has this relationship of utter contempt for sharks. He kills 2 of them, and they weren't even doing anything wrong. They made no attempt to munch on his legs, nibble off his limbs.
One of them
behaviour.
was going to eat all those people in the underwater battle.
But still, the brutal murder of 2 sharks.
He really does hate animals.
I have a good
does
story
James
about
Bond.
this. This is the one that literally has distracted me. So, they obviously did have a saltwater pool with sharks in it. That's what they built. But because of the risk, they created a little partition in it for Sean Connery, and one of the sharks got through it and basically attempted to bite him, and there was like a big scene about this. There's also a hilarious paragraph in this that says, Special Effects Coordinator John Steers provided a supposedly dead shark to be towed around the pool. The shark, which was still alive, revived at one point. Isn't that just fantastic?
This man had one job. To get a dead shark.
Or get a dead one.
Was
Do you
it
reckon
just
he
sleeping
killed
or
it?
something? And he was just like, he just poked it or something.
Was he just swimming around and was like, that looks like a dead
That looks dead.
shark.
That looks dead.
It's not moving very much.
Yeah.
Got his big net.
Well, he
The
felt
shark
it and he was like, oh, it's cold. But he forgot they were cold-blooded, eh?
I mean, he's underwater, he must have
Sharks.
drowned, right?
That's so true, Alfie.
It's not coming up for air. He's gone.
You know sharks can actually drown, right? If you hold a shark still, it drowns. That's why.
It has to keep moving.
Yeah, that's why you. It's impossible
They
to
sleep
keep.
swimming, don't they?
It's why it's almost impossible to keep large sharks in aquariums because they need enough space to move constantly.
But is it true that shark blood smell thing, or is that just like a
Yeah,
film?
they don't have very good eyesight and they guide themselves primarily.
Because the
by
only
smell.
other comparison I've got is Bruce from Finding Nemo, and that's just not a scientific source.
You're listening to Shark Watch.
They did say that in that film having so many sharks made the place absolutely stink as well. It was the saltwater pool was disgusting.
Saying sharks are smelly.
Sharks are smelly.
It's well known. Alfie, have you not been doing your reading for this episode? Have you not learned at least 3 different shark facts?
I thought we were talking about James Bond, not about sharks.
The Greenland shark is the oldest confirmed living animal.
This is all getting cut.
What, as in the
You
shark?
can continue talking about sharks. There's no way back.
Do you mean the single shark is a really old shark? It's a real wrinkly old shark.
No,
You mean it's just a?
There's a species
It just
of
hasn't
shark.
changed.
It's
It
been
just
around
hasn't evolved
since
very much.
No.
That's
I
what
mean,
you're saying.
there's a species of shark called the Greenlandic shark, and they have been confirmed to live up to 600 years.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah. the only way we can tell how old they are is because their eyes.
the number of candles on their cakes.
You cut them open and you
No,
can't-
no. Their eyes are pretty shit. There's a type of small parasitic fish that basically eats their eyes because they rarely use them because they live so deep, and you can measure from the deterioration of the eye how old the sharks are.
I remember you going to a party a couple of times and just chatting to girls about sharks. Was there a period in your life where you just looked up a bunch of
I think
facts
sharks are really
and you were like,
cool.
hey guys, it's Shark Week.
I really like sharks. I wouldn't want to go swimming with them, but
Would you go swimming with a tortoise and ride it, a turtle and ride it around like that lady did?
no, but I
In this film,
That was like
Thunderball,
a
which is what this
dream.
podcast is supposed to be about.
I would-
I didn't know you were such an expert on sharks, but I'm not really surprised.
Yeah.
I would go swimming with what was her name? Christine Auger.
Domino.
Yeah,
Domino.
I would go swimming with her.
I'd let her hold on to me like a
Claudine Auger.
like a tortoise. Turtle.
Claudine Auger.
So we're halfway through Thunderball at the moment.
We are indeed.
And thoughts on it, guys?
Right.
I agree.
It's pretty good.
I think certainly coming straight off the bat of Goldfinger the other day, I was I'm very pleasantly surprised by this movie.
I think it's just doing what Goldfinger tried to do, but actually succeeding, doing it better.
It's just more intriguing.
The plot's better. It's kind of silly, but in a fun way,
Yeah,
as opposed to silly, but just
in a dumb way.
in a dumb way. Like Goldfinger.
He still sexually assaults women, but this
Yeah,
time
it's not ideal.
he wears a silly bathing suit as well.
And a mitten. And a
Oh,
mint,
the
and a mint, and a mint glove.
Yeah, he feels up a woman wearing a mink glove.
is an odd scene.
Very, very bizarre.
I'm not quite sure what they were doing going with
That
that.
must have been a thing back in the late 60s.
I think you should subtitle this handle like eggs.
Oh yeah, this is a bit of research we're gonna have to do when we finish off the thing to find out whether "handle with eggs" was actually what was written on literal nuclear bombs.
I think the underwater scenes do hold up a lot. They look really good.
Yeah, the scene where the Vulcan lands underwater and they cover it up. It's like synchronized swimming.
Somebody get those crisps away from me.
So yeah, what do we reckon is going to happen in the second half then? Is he going to bone the redhead?
Yeah, the redhead or the brunette. Or both.
He's definitely going to bone the brunette. They're practically.
Definitely.
She's practically in his trousers already.
And also that way he gets to cuck number 2.
Yeah, apparently the current strategy to defeat Spectre is to just cuck them.
I think the hat will make a comeback.
You do you?
I think there's gonna be something there. Even if it's a silly jest to be like, oh Felix.
I don't know why they would, but why they'd want to steal his hat, that is. Why it's useful, but...
Because it's iconic. Whenever I think of Bond, I think of his hat.
Yeah, when did they get rid of the whole throwing his hat on the hat rack
The
thing?
hat thing,
Is
yeah.
that just a Sean Connery?
They're trying to make a
thing?
thing. I think it's just a Sean Connery thing.
It's interesting that the only time you ever really see Bond wearing this hat is the opening gun barrel sequence, of course.
That's a really good
He
point.
wears it a fair bit in From Russia With Love. Because he's going on a lovely
He's
sightseeing
travelling.
holiday.
He's got his summer hat on at the moment. His straw hat. His little fedora.
I'm kind of sad that the jetpack was only used for that one bit.
Yeah, just for the opening. I feel like they really wasted an opportunity.
This
there.
movie feels like someone bought an underwater camera and a jetpack and was like, what can I do with it?
So plot, what happens in this film, guys?
Fucking everything happens in this film.
We start off.
At a funeral.
That's it. The funeral.
At a funeral for...
James Bond.
Is it
looks
James
like,
Bond?
Yeah.
JB is on the coffin.
Turns out it's a member of Spectre
It's just some French
called
piece.
Jacques Bouvier.
Good memory. If so.
That was very very accurate. That was
We're gonna
that's
have
the
to
name.
fact check that.
Then there's some stuff about plastic surgery. There's a guy who makes himself look exactly like another guy. He
A
says
NATO
ciao.
pilot.
There's a busty redhead. Then they steal
Evil
a
busty
nuclear.
redhead.
Then they steal a nuclear
I'm
weapon.
paying a lot of attention to this movie.
They fly it to the Bahamas and
They sink the bombs.
the plane lands on the water and it goes glub 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 glub. And then they get the
Have we
nukes
mentioned
out.
the bombs?
Oh yeah, there's nuclear weapons on the plane.
The reason this man steals a NATO.
They're stealing a Vulcan.
Anyway,
No two ways
Spectre's
about it.
blackmailing the UK and the US. I'll take that one again because my voice broke. So Spectre is blackmailing the UK and the US.
We'll fix it in post.
I thought it was cute.
Oh, thanks.
Shag count exceedingly high. The violence was also really upped in this one. People had their eyes gouged out. Women were tortured.
Harpoons through arms.
Harpoons through faces.
A lot of underwater stabbing.
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of underwater
The
stabbing.
battle underwater at the end of the film. The film culminates in a battle underwater at the end of the film. There's a battle underwater.
If there's one thing you need to know about this film,
There is a battle
There's a
underwater.
battle underwater.
It's a really long scene as well.
It
Somehow
doesn't-
during the battle, the number of people involved in the battle multiplies.
Triples.
Right.
Yeah. That bit in particular where someone stabs someone in the eye, that's, clearly a prosthetic head that they created for that scene. The director wanted it to be that violent, which I think is interesting because the violence in the Bond films before, you barely even see blood. And in this one you saw someone's fucking brains bashed out.
yeah,
which is
people
a
do
bit of a
just sort
step
of,
up.
yeah,
Um,
sort of fall over without
I'm
any.
sort of
gore
impressed
in
that
most
it
of
made
them.
it past the censor.
So one of the things I really liked about it, especially comparing to Goldfinger, which we watched last, which was frankly so bad we might not even release the podcast, partly because the podcast was even worse than the movie, is you have the dynamic between Bond and the villain, whose name is I think Vargas in Thunderball, where they both know that they're enemies, but they still just hang out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, come round to my villa, and we'll shoot some stuff." And Bond's like, "Oh yes, I'll come round to your villa, and then I'll also break into it as well at night, and then we'll not really acknowledge it."
This is really quite similar in a lot of ways to Goldfinger, but just good. I think where Goldfinger fails is that Goldfinger is not scary, whereas in this one, I feel like Spectre is kind of built up. And Vargas is built up to actually be a threat, whereas Goldfinger is just some dude who cheats at golf or something.
Yeah.
He's not very
Vargas is a very spooky guy.
It seems a lot more just clear in the whole James Bond and him knowing who each other are, but just sort of playing it cool. Seems a lot more purposeful in this film, where it's just because MI6 will be looking for the bombs, so we can't kill him. And then also, it's just kind of funner. The plot's more exciting. It's funnier, I thought, than Goldfinger. Same amount of sexual assault, though. He does force himself on another lady in this film. Right at the beginning. Right up top, just so
Twice.
you know.
Yeah, they're just we'll get it over and done with.
Uh-huh.
Something we gotta have in this movie, apparently.
Yet again, the women in this film have their voices dubbed over by the same woman that dubbed 3 other Bond women in the past
Are you kidding
films.
me?
Yeah, so Nikki van der Zyl voiced Claudine. What's the Domino? Yeah.
But presumably the lady who plays Domino is French. She won the Miss French whatever
Maybe she
competition.
was too French. Maybe she didn't speak any English. Maybe it's like the
Maybe it's
woman
like
from-
Goldfinger.
in From Russia with Love, where the actress didn't actually speak very much English, and so they just dubbed her over.
I think Girl Boss, the busty redhead, actually.
You used
Delivered her
girl
own
boss and busted a redhead in the same sentence.
Yeah, well, she was all of the above. She actually said her lines, which is fun.
Yeah, they
That's
got
nice.
us.
Yes.
I was definitely thinking, oh, he's going to have sex with this lady and she's going to turn sides because that's what happened in the
Yeah.
last film. She specifically calls that out and is like, oh yeah, because you're James Bond and your dick's so good it can
Make you virtuous.
it can make me see the light. You thought wrong.
No, my loyalty's to Spectre.
And
Yeah.
that's his fun back line is, oh no, I was just doing my duty to Queen and Country.
Mhm.
I didn't enjoy myself at all.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not at all.
The guy that plays Felix Leiter in this film is called Rick Van Nutter, which is pretty cool.
But yeah, 4th James Bond film, 3rd Felix Leiter.
Yeah, they really
Each time he appears, he's got a
appearance.
different
they
face.
really could not get a Felix they liked. I think
They can get a Felix they like. So.
I mean, the one in Goldfinger was abysmal.
Heck up. Shut the heck up. The one in Goldfinger, yeah.
Yeah.
The Felix Leiter in Goldfinger is just a
He's
klutz.
just the worst spy you've ever seen.
Whoopsie daisy.
I do like.
I'm just gonna stand outside Goldfinger's ranch with binoculars and not be subtle.
Yeah, so Terence Young didn't direct Goldfinger, but he did direct Dr. No, From Russia With Love, and Thunderball, which I think is why we all disliked Goldfinger. And also, I did look up that, oh god, I've forgotten her name, but the woman co-writer from Dr. No, she co-wrote From Russia With Love as well, which is my theory as to why suddenly in film 3 and 4 Bond decides he's gonna force himself on women, because there wasn't a woman in the writers' room going
Maybe
maybe
have
no.
this.
Joanna Harwood, there you go.
I still want to know where that hat went.
Yeah, this is the major mystery from this movie. There's a bit where one of the little tropes of these early Bond films is he likes throwing his hat onto the hat stand outside M's office, which
It's sort
is,
of-
I don't know why it's abandoned in the later movies. It's a great little trope.
It adds to his boyish charm.
And
When he
uh,
sweeps into
and
Moneypenny's
then there's-
office,
Yes, it does.
gives her a little wink,
There's a
tosses his
scene where
hat.
he's like,
Mm.
"Oh, what happened to my hat?" And then it's not talked about for the whole rest of the film.
Yeah, what happened to
Someone presumably takes his hat.
Is this? Do you reckon this is a? Do you reckon he doesn't have a hat in all the following movies? And this
Because
is
this is
because
why.
they're like,
Oh, how
Oh.
interesting, yeah.
they were like, "Oh, the hat isn't working. We're going to cut the hat," and they just make it canon in this.
I really hope
He
it
never
is
wears
that.
a hat.
That's so unnecessary though. If people were just like, oh man, like I don't think this look really works, or for some reason, if like after Goldfinger there was a bunch of fan mail that was like, we hate the hat,
Get
down
rid
with
of
the
the
hat. Like you can just have him not wear a hat. You don't need to. You don't need to make a line being like, where's my hat gone? I guess I won't wear it because I've lost it now. Like,
And that's
I really-
verbatim. That's exactly what's in
I
the script.
really hope this is a thing. We might have to look this up.
Bond gets shot in the leg in this film, and it
Yeah.
never comes up after that.
it's just a flesh wound.
He limps a bit. He goes and does some dancing, and then when he goes swimming again, he's all
And he
right.
runs to a club, I just looked it up, called Kiss
Kiss
Club,
Club,
right?
yeah.
And that's actually a nod to what the original theme was going to be. It wasn't going to be Thunderball. It wasn't even going to be Tom Jones. It was going to be Shirley Bassey again.
Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang
And it was Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. That's absolutely hilarious.
That's why the zero's double. Mr. Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang.
Great for Jack
So,
Nicholson.
for listeners,
Yeah, it's gonna be such beautiful.
We're about to
audio
pour
quality.
out some
That nice
pasta.
food in an echoey kitchen and the crackle of crisps.
And drawers and crisps and cutlery.
It's a soundscape. It's
To be fair, actually, that's how you get people to listen to your podcast. So you make sad people feel like you're their friends or something,
Yeah.
so they listen to you while they eat breakfast, and they're like, "Haha, I'm having a joke with my mates about James
oh,
Bond."
it's just my pals in
And
the
so
kitchen
this really,
having
I
some
think,
pasta.
cements that. I mean, the only people who are going to listen to this are people who are hopefully already our friends.
Yeah, I was going to say,
But-
who's your audience? that you're
No, we're
looking
trying to get this to everyone who
Well, it's
needs
work,
it.
apparently.
Everyone who
for?
needs
Oh, yeah,
this
maybe my
podcast.
bread. May I have a biscuit?
No. Yeah.
I just really want to try one of these ones you got the other day.
And I think if we allow people to come into our homes, then they'll relate
welcome us
they'll,
into their hearts.
they'll relate to us more
Oh,
and enjoy our podcast all the more, won't you, viewers?
viewers of
Viewers of this
Audio
pod-
viewers.
Audio viewers.
Pretty sure there's a word for that.
Listeners.
Oh, there you
hold on a
So
Man,
you
you
can
can
tell
tell. You can tell you've studied English.
go. She works with books.
My company has a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Is it better than this one?
So you're already doing that.
We've already done better than your
Please don't record that.
company. It's the whole thing. I'm afraid.
That's off the record, right?
I'm afraid we're real purists. Everything that's recorded
Yeah, we'll,
gets put into the
we'll
final cut.
bleep out that bit. Or disguise your voice so they can't tell it's you bad mouthing your company.
Mr. Kiss Kiss Bands, not a
I now just have a load of images of
Another
Sean
fashion
Connery
moment
wearing
is-
hats.
I was going to say, not just hats, those swimming suits. Those swimming
Oh, hell
costumes.
Yeah, Domino had some good.
Look at
Oh,
those
I wasn't
hats
thinking
he
about
has.
Domino. I was thinking
Domino
about that
does
think
have
about
purple-
Connery.
Domino has some
Red-
good outfits.
Oh my god, that red scuba suit where he has no legs on it.
Yeah.
Just
That
the
is
full
ridiculous.
package just hoiked up by this weird spandex
With his
suit.
tighty whities showing.
Yeah.
£295 for that hat.
How much?
£295 from a Lock & Co. Hatter's James Bond Trilby hat.
Is that the actual hat he wore?
I think it's just no. I think it's just
I'm not paying
I think it's just a replica hat. Someone must have written something about this.
It looks like, and I can't figure out if this is correct or not, but Martine Beswick, who plays Bond's sort of assistant, she is in From Russia with Love. And it looks like she is one of the people who catfight over which of them is going to marry them.
She's
Whoa.
one of the Rome people.
Do you reckon
Yeah,
he
she's
do you reckon he goes
fine.
back to Turkey and requests that she be his assistant? Is this canon?
This is canon, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The only information I could find out about the hat is what the hats were, which is not hugely interesting content.
The final scene where they're fighting in the boat, where everything is sped
Oh,
up and just
fantastic.
it looks absolutely
Ooh.
insane. I also wonder if that is so shocking as well, because we've just had 10 minutes of very slow underwater fight scenes where because everyone has to swim over to everyone else and then take a long time to be able to like
Yeah.
stab or do anything to each other. But then suddenly
I like
we
it.
go into some sped up footage of a
I don't feel like it would have been as
boat
jarring
crashing a
if
rock.
they didn't have the footage that genuinely looked like they'd hit a rock every single time they
Yes.
cut back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
They
green
were
screen is really
using-
bad.
Like,
Terrible green screen.
yeah, just the perspective is completely wrong because it makes it look
Seeing as
like
they
they
spent-
just keep crashing into rocks, but somehow they then suddenly
Yeah.
survive.
Seeing as they spent the equivalent of £40 million on this, they might have invested in a slightly better green screen.
Also, I don't think they ever have shots of boats sped up in the rest of the film. Like we see just before.
That's because
that.
the boats aren't travelling as fast as they are in that scene. Did you not see the bit where the boat ditches the back half of the boat so
Yeah,
they
it
can go
becomes a
super fast
hydrofoil.
and it becomes a hydrofoil?
There's definitely sped up scenes underwater. There's that amazing shot of James Bond with his projector across the yellow stream coming out.
Yeah,
behind
he has
him.
like a
Absolutely-
underwater jetpack.
underwater
Yes,
jetpack.
that is
Really
definitely
sick.
sped up.
And then he ends being flown off
You're like, ooh, are they gonna get some action in a boat again?
in a dinghy.
No. Switch it up, they're gonna have some action in the sky.
There's also that strange action in the sea.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes!
I hope we didn't scare the
He
fish.
and this woman have had, at best, a kind of...
They've been pretty flirtatious.
They've
in
been
the
fairly
previous
flirtatious,
scenes.
but she's also like said to him multiple times, "Oh, you're being quite obvious," and he's like, "Yeah, well, I don't have much time there." And then they see each other underwater. Obviously, no words are exchanged because they're underwater, but he just has his camera, takes a couple photos of her, and then they disappear behind a rock.
And you can just see the flashing. Also, weird bit that follows: the foot bit. The foot bit. Why?
He has to save her
Oh, yeah,
from
it's
the
very
poison.
important. Well, no, that's one of the things. There
He
was another...
sucks off her foot.
There was
yeah.
another... there was
And then
another
he comes out with an
disgusting little
excellent
double
line
entendre.
where he's like,
I've never tasted women before. It's quite lovely or whatever. It's relating back to him saying that he was going to fucking bite the blonde woman, and also implies that James Bond never performs oral sex. So that's
do you think he ever does?
Well, I don't know. The women seem pretty chuffed afterwards.
No, it's to her that he says the tooth line. Because she's like, you have sharp eyes. Because he's like,
He's Fi's,
I will
You'll
definitely
dominate.
identify this person who he's only seen from a photograph because she has 2 moles on her left thigh, which we actually never see. I don't think the actress actually does have 2 moles on her left thigh.
And then when he calls her Domino, and it's like, oh god, has he like slipped up by letting her know that he knows about her already? And she's like, oh, how do you know my name? He's like, oh, I saw it on your anklet or whatever, your bracelet.
Which
It's
we
like,
also never see.
which we never see as well. And
Yeah.
also, I thought he was gonna say, oh, it's because you have 2 moles, and I guess
Oh my god!
your nickname because of that.
Damn
That's
me.
so stupid.
Oh, her
I
fashion
like the-
was excellent too. The black and white themed domino stuff, I loved that. That was
Mm.
very cool.
Bond is in a lot of pink and red in this flag.
And blue, those little blue shorts.
He's got some pink
He's
shorts.
wearing a
He's
lot
got
of
some
short
pink
shorts in
t-shirts. A lot of short.
And he's
shorts.
topless for a lot of the movie.
There's
It's,
so much.
Yeah,
it's one for the ladies.
It's one for ladies.
It is. It's a feminist film.
It's a feminist film because Domino wins the
Retract that.
landing blow.
Retract that.
So he strikes like thunderbolt.
In all seriousness, how would you rate it amongst the 4 movies we've seen? Best?
The best.
Best?
The best of the ones we've seen so far.
Interesting. Yeah, I can probably agree with that, to be honest.
I'm erring on that side.
Thunderball's fantastic. And anyone who says, oh, the fight scene's underwater, you can never tell what's going on. Pay more attention!
Look, use your eyes.
Use your eyes. One is in red, one is in black. That's how you know what's going on.
It's a perfect film.
Yeah.
Thunderball is the greatest
The
Bond
great-
movie.
The greatest movie.
Because I think it
Because
was
I think it
just
has.
silly.
Yeah, I like. It's.
Silly without being mean-spirited. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously...
it's a bit funnier than Don't You Know Her from Russia with Love.
The blonde woman in the
Yeah,
health centre,
that's not great.
very uncomfortable.
You could, and
You
you could
could- you
also
could cut
you could
that,
cut
though.
that from the movie.
Yeah.
And your memories, hopefully.
But I think Bond being in the health centre at the beginning of the film is actually quite... It works.
Get up to hijinks.
He gets up to
Oh.
hijinks, he boils a man to death.
I just enjoyed in this film that they added a lot of sort of just stuff for him to be doing, like specifically in that scene with Q or whatever, where he's just flicking switches the whole time and just sort of being a bit goofy, a bit laid back, a little bit. Just like, oh, what does this thing do? And you just Q wearily is like, please
It's
don't
not
destroy
nice.
all my gadgets
His
like you always
relationship with
do.
Q is... I like how it's very antagonistic.
And I feel like that kind of
Silly.
remains still to this day of being like, oh, I have to deal with him.
I like how M is always getting his back in this movie. He's like, if Bond says if Bond says the bombs are there, the bombs are there.
Especially
If
considering
Bond
that
says he saw this person who was dead,
That's
then he was definitely dead. And you're like, oh, nice one, M.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the babes some more. There was the redhead with big boobs. There was the I don't know. I haven't done. I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. Look. I was really keen on this film. I wasn't going to be a negative Nancy like I was in the last little review. But I've said my piece. It's bedtime for Bonzo. Got work in the morning. And I can't be sitting around here pissing my life away with James Bond franchise.
Wow, way to ruin the podcast. Way to kill the vibe. Okay, how are we gonna sign off the episode then? Unless we've got any more hot takes.
I forget how we sign off.
I strike